My name is Lavin Jai, and this is News Review. Coming up on the show today, a UDP man has walked into our offices saying he wants to respond to President Adama Barrow over comments the Gambian leader made that a lot of people did not get buried thanks to his 2016 electoral victory. We have a report on that. Ministry of Lands have also held a press conference as it continues to grapple with land problems across the country. Businessman Abubakari Jawara recently gave $100,000 to the women of Sanyang. This report should have been aired a few days ago, but we could not. We will bring you that report. Also today, my guest would be the US-based Banka Mane, host of For the People, By the People show there, a massive guest. So you stay with us, but first we'll quickly see what the papers are saying. Today, Dawo reveals why Barrow sacked them. Court orders Apple Tree to take back expelled school girls. Soldiers advised to be neutral ahead of election. Police investigate death of 5 kids in phony Christmas crowd. Medical council yet to investigate Fatu Diba's death. APP uploads Gambia's interfaith coexistence in Christmas message. 27 prisoners get $3,000 medical aid. The Standard has a lot of stories today. In a rare conversation on what led to him and his colleagues sacking from government, Usainu Dawa has disclosed that the UDP's refusal to endorse President Adama Barrow as presidential candidate for a second time caused the fallout. That was dismissed in March 2019 alongside 2 UDP ministers in Amadou Sane and Lamin Diba, effectively ending the party's membership of the coalition government there. At the time, President Barrow, who served as the party's flag bearer but resigned to contest as an independent candidate backed by a coalition, said he had to take that painful decision in the interest of the country. But in an exclusive interview with the popular social media platform For the People, By the People show on Sunday, Dawa explained, "We really deserved our appointments as ministers, and we lost our appointments not because we were against the government of the Gambia. We were loyal to our government, and we continue to be loyal to the government up to now. But when Barrow wanted to achieve his ambition by hijacking the UDP to endorse him as flag bearer again, we said no. We will not have that. We were working audaciously for the government and the people of the Gambia, but Barrow felt that we should give him our personal support in his ambition, otherwise we'll have to get out of cabinet." That's Dabo's comments there. Court orders Apple Tree to take back expelled school girls. The Christmas vacation judge, Justice Landin M. Sane of the High Court in Banjul, has ordered that Mami Kumba Ngam and Marian Ngam, students of Apple Tree International School who were expelled recently from the school, be allowed to resume attending school, classes, lectures, taking tests and examinations pending the hearing and determination of a notice of motion dated 20th December 2020 filed before the said court. Justice Landin M. Sane made this decision in a ruling delivered yesterday, 28th December 2020, premised on the expert motion filed before the court, which sought permission for the matter to be heard during the Christmas period. Also, soldiers advised to be neutral ahead of election. The Chief of Defense Staff has asked members of the Gambian Armed Forces to remain apolitical as the country heads into election next year. Police investigate death of 5 kids in phony Christmas crowd. The police have launched an investigation into a fatal accident that claimed the lives of 5 children and injured several others in Jagil village in Phony. Medical Council yet to investigate Fatu Diba's death. The Gambia Dental and Medical Council has clarified that it has so far not opened any investigation into the alleged negligent death of one Fatu Diba of Bakau. Fatu 37 died in an ambulance at the EFSTH a few months ago. Accident and emergency after giving birth to twins there. 27 prisoners also got 3,000 medical aid. The CEO of Inside Training Center and Taranga FM, Dr. Ismail Assise, through a prison trust fund project funded by the British High Commission in the Gambia, yesterday donated $3,000 to about 27 Mile 2 inmates. Okay, I think, yes, let's see what the point is saying now. They are reporting that Gambia tourism in crisis, and a Gambia hotel terminates contract of 41 staff. UDP militant claims lost manhood after electrocution. Parent alleges injustice as Apple Tree expels 3 students. In Musa Yali Bachile's trial, defense takes prosecution witness to task. The impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the Gambia is throwing the tourism sector into deep crisis as one hotel terminated employment contract of its long-serving staff members. Some 150,000 Gambians are said to be employed in the tourism industry. Among them is Mr. Lamin Jai. Yes, that's my Toma. He is among the 41 staff members of the hotel whose employment was terminated by the hotel management. UDP militant claims lost manhood after electrocution. A staunch supporter of the United Democratic Party, Modungam, yesterday revealed before the TRLC that he lost his manhood after he was electrocuted by members of the NIA in Banjul. Let's see. The point is also reported on the Apple Tree students expulsion there. At least 3 students have been expelled by the Apple Tree International School, alleging act of misconduct. Let's see. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
Do you want to win millions of dollars this December? All you have to do is dial *777# for free or call or SMS 1010 at $3 is only to participate in the new AfriHali show and be part of the 7 daily winners.
Every Tuesday, Wednesday and Fridays live on GRTS, Afri Radio and social media platforms. Be part of our lucky winners.
Where AfriCell goes, nobody dares to follow.
Welcome back. Now, a man who says he's one of the top officials, public relations officer of UDP in Badibu, has walked into our offices saying he wants to respond to comments there by President Adama Barrow that a lot of people did not get buried thanks to his victory back in 2016, in the 2016 presidential elections. Father Kamara tells us more.
President Adama Barrow said a lot of people did not get buried thanks to his 2016 defeat of former President Yahya Jammeh. Speaking at a meeting in Soma on December 22nd, the president insisted those his victory saved are now the ones who have appointed him an enemy.
In 2016, Alkali Tembulu, Sefo Tembulu, Commandant Tembulu, Deputy Tembulu, Councilor Tembulu, Mayor Tembulu, Ala Dromole Bembulo. Wala le Magoi, Masakio me alon ko mo be ko mota bonni non kelo sifa be kera barka wi Allah la wado sida ay nde president barole tombonna ay ndombo ay sin londi nyimbanko ga kabe fundi na newspaper do mol kanyini ngajo malon jinti mol ka ñoo ñini nga wala molo mealon go mbuga di am politiko to mbe politiko ko bari manta place ñino la man la filam fañi tan di la je bari kam mi wordo sino to ala na tan tombo en londi kar sabo kono na ya jambe boy ñimbam ko kanjam andun kabra boyta bi modol be wuri kam bi billahi wallahi nim president Barrow man gagnenu abata la nga mo jama baade ñi banko kanja abata la nga mo jama baade ñi banko nga bari o mo la nata wuli kana kele ba wuli ndin kam kan kenyi kon demu jawole ndemanke mola jawti do godo wala naadi do godo andu wala kala fana woto mbela la jara so man kol anin elaran kol momeliano ki siso konko ka fo yamu elarar leti lafta ko moy bang elarar kono bari mboyta o je kanne 2021 lafta president ke NPP député le ke NPP mayor le ke NPP chairman le ke NPP et le council le ke NPP.
Karamonjai is a UDP top official in Badibu and upon listening to the president's comments, walked into our offices to respond to the president directly.
Antela na ala sabo mende nga kibar le moy a kibaro kaw ko yatam fe bakala because president Barrow e kuma dolo fo soma meeting oto ako ni ngamira akole jaka stable because ara damma ma fan samba na semboro je molle carte ke so fay praita state house 2016 na ko ata kunkolo le ata fan la fancy state house kamol bula men ya lon ko ibe soro ndum bonjara pour ya faaje o ton man songoto la
ha bare president Barrow yemen ko ako atele yalo atele president
ha
ako atele sio ke president wate wala tina amu jamabi imam fafa
ha
sa ite ko agence ko kabila yo fo ite hakilo tata meneka
nda hakilo tata menka anyanta fala ko nin gambian ko le menkele anyanta wala fal anin gambian ko le keloke anda ta nata be o campaign ko na ka mole tof muna na mo fanan tof bendula aka mole tof because ntol nata yo keloke jana barata yo le te jana ntol tu jara Senegal mata wato kala muta ntol tu kelo ko na jam anyanta na gambian ko tof ayna ali fasalla tof bara mol tof a fan kun ko lo dam mala tof ata yo le te jana ntol tu jam ata wato fon tol makano mate ko sudo le asam ata Senegal itata kalendi je ay ntol tu jam o kelo kon sa ta ko ni arrente dolbe fala ndol wakilta o fala anda ka men fo dolbe fala kasoton o mari nyole kelo ko sanji mo ande fo lebe kelo la jam
sa iti amira de jumani because ako o mari ate mil safe bi wolle doda kate against iti amira de jumani
abe men la ate men ni mira mfana sa fa o mun telete ani nyondo o mun telete ani nyondo barata mo urgency because ate ndol be fasi waro men bo kelo la je taran no maje ate man tara o mol kono UDP lo fintoje UDP le atin na fa ate fintita pour mo yalo nada kana kun ko lo fu biya kana ul garawon yalla ntol benna ntol la right ntol bo la fala bar parti ko tan ntol to fo non del parti ko tan ta fo non because ntol le na yo kelok and ntol le asini place fo mo li yaji ntol le atete ni ngatete ni fa futa raw stage ot bi na kana fo ko wolel lafita bi kat la marlo tinya ntol birim bo jala marlo tinya ran kama ko keno because aka silon men fo la men ko to pasamas ay otal laren aw do ko tar keren sa na raka na fo kon tele nyingen nta man sonjel
ite fo ya fo jenne ko Barrow mu UDP
di hono no ha abi ha biya ha
ite la miro to minati na UDP Barrow ko
me na UDP Barrow ko
ko Barrow biya be lo aka nyuko
ngaji ko men sorata mo wala mafa because ntol nimme ne kelok ate ñu walel mo la nyanto men tinyata ate mo no ma ko takata bala siran ko no ma men sa bamban ate bo la 2021 abe fel la wala ha be men so be mo fala gambian ko le president Barrow kanam fulinde aka men nyamen ko mo kono wolun ten tolde aka ko mo men fo banko kan ka mo len tele nyingi ka man fenket la men ko do pasamas ya jamelo silola o berola sukuta jambanjel ya jamelo doko Barrow ba bulolo la mun ka kafante men doko ale akana mon nene mbebe janne aka kuran men fo nga samba ciang e kuran bondi foñi le ya samba ciang ya fenkele ya konakle o man kala doko tide ya jamela doko la mata Barrow man fenke jande mo Barrow ta bulolo la mo ka nganyine ka berala wonde kuti ka bero jolo on defan ko si bero la no jang ba Allah jang par ka fon tele nyingi Amadou Ba ñol be wure ba fa tele nyingi ndeta NRP le sanjitan tenis be NRP Amadou Ba rapatir tenis me barale jiko lat na nga bondi je andu Amadou Ba ka maanya men ko diatante baake ati amira ka barole makoy aka barole titala president Barrow nyanta wolon nal comme PPP la leader en fo Amadou Ba ka Barrow aka talale Barrow be tarante to baaka mol kana Amadou Ba kuere ala nyi bete batale ni ka molu kam fami molu ka jam felale e ka molu nenele comme UDP la parti on konto le mbe on men keten mo be nyaaje bu façon noto ño nene manke woto so ni ko men bo nyama ngata 2021 be silal ndebe bu UDP dul mbe men fole do nga mol sensitize nga mol nyini nga nen drobula nga ke kilinte nga mol nene because UDP parti la parti baraka ma balam député mo ni fembe mo men bul kansulu tawor ni fembe men bul kiaman woro be bul ite ka fo UDP parti non ndu momento la parti no moma yela majede men kallo kerewane nyol to lan to tari ka fo ko mo wuli sabare ni la feta mo yela mandila e ka londi kenonya yaaja metilo le ka mo londile anya eje bari ka fo do yelo jandron fat netwo ko do yeko mako mo wuli jamala ben nyaato mo wuli ntol ndamo buka yalam ntol ke bayle ni ngi jiko ko ron jiren ke bayle mane ntol buka ne ner ntol ke bayle so mbal ten ntol mbar jeyel ala baraka Allah jang ala mar jey baraka.
Fatu Kamara reporting for the Fatu Network News Review.
TAF Africa Global presents the new Tulip Gardens. TAF Tulip Gardens is set to comprise service plots in sizes ranging from 220 to 570 meters square. Deposit as low as $83,600 is only. An 18-month interest-free payment plan with only 20% deposit on the service plots. Please contact 376-2333 or 776-2333. Free. Tough.
Very well. The Minister of Lands yesterday held a press conference to address some festering land problems. Really, if there is one ministry that has always been on the lip of members of the public, that's the Minister of Lands. More in this report.
The press briefing was centered on the outcome of long-standing land dispute between the Job Kunda family of Jabang and the Jata Kunda family of Busumbala.
Mr. Alaji Yusufa Job was granted a lease for agricultural purpose in 1998 in Jabang village, measuring 860 meters by 580 meters by 650 meters by 1 kilometer. The same Alaji Yusufa Job applied for a change of use from agricultural to residential in accordance with the State Land Act of 1991. The conditional change of use approval was granted in 2007, and in accordance with the State Land Act 1991 as amended, the state acquired 70% of the land and the 30% was left with the family. The 70% acquired by the state was later allocated to Social Security for an estate, Jabang Estate, part of which land forms the Jabang Estate. The remaining 30% for the family, they paid a change of use fee of $510,930. However, the Jatakunda family of Busumbala challenged the veracity of Job Kunda's lease in court. In 2013, the High Court entered a judgment in favor of Alaji Yusufa Job, that is the Job Kunda family represented here.
PS Ministry of Lands said they put out a task force to inquire into the issue, and their findings shows that Job Kunda had sold out lands that belonged to the Jata Kunda family, and the Jata Kunda family had also sold lands that belonged to the Job Kunda family.
A site visit was conducted by the task force members, during which the independent surveyor saw the boundary of the lease. On this particular occasion, both the police and all the affected parties, that is the Job Kunda and the Busumbala Jatakunda family, were present with their surveyors to look at what the independent surveyor did to ascertain together with the rest of the team. After re-establishing the boundary of the lease, it became apparent that both parties, that is both Job Kunda and the Jatakunda, have sold beyond their limits. After we did this particular field visit, we came to realize that Job Kunda sold more than what is within their lease, and also the Jatakunda family has sold to people encroaching into the lease of the Job Kunda family.
The two families had agreed to negotiate with all victims that bought land from the wrong party.
As for us, as a family and as the family leader, we are open to negotiation. We are not waiting for the task force to call us in corridor or wherever. We are ready. Whoever feels that we obstruct you, come, we see how we are ready for it.
Since the day one in this issue, we accepted for negotiation. We accepted for swap. Any proposal that being made, we see that definitely is something that's going to be help and then minimize damages or minimize anything that fall into something that we did not expect, we accept it.
Land dispute had been a long-standing issue in the Gambia. PS said his ministry had engaged Trimble International Organization, an American organization, to help in working on solving the issue.
Developing what we call cadastral mapping and land registration. This we have gone far. We have got a concept document from an international organization that will map out the entire country, every inch of the country, and then provide title to individuals, especially women and children, the disadvantaged members of our society. This process is on, and equally, as of now, the short-term measures that we are doing is that we are doing georeferencing of all land transactions that go through our offices, that is our physical planning office. If you go there now to transact a land, they will pick coordinates of that land. And if anybody goes to do transaction on the same land, they will be able to detect that this land has been transacted before. So this has helped us a lot in eliminating a lot of double documentation.
The issue of Tranquil was raised.
That is at the level of the Sheriff Division to work on that. The ministry can only support where it is necessary, but we cannot interfere and make any decision. Whosoever has the right on that property will have to decide. But that doesn't stop the people affected to engage government to see what can be done. And they did that, and then I think if they continue engaging government to see what could be the solution, we cannot force the rightful owner to leave his property, but we can also see what government can do for those people affected.
Modou Lamin Balde and Binta Jeng are victims of both Job and Jata Kunda family.
Because my land, according to the demarcation, it falls in the Jata Kunda site. So I see that, Jata Kunda is very much cooperative, actually. By even listening to them, they say that, definitely I cannot lose 2 of my properties there. Then let me go and engage them. Then they will show me at least whereby that I can even grab it for settlement or as a ownership. So which I am very much grateful to them, definitely. But as I see Job Kunda, definitely they are not cooperative. And I bought the land from Job Kunda. Just imagine this: you bought the land from somebody that is not cooperative, somebody that you didn't give a penny to is cooperative, want to help and solve the problem. So definitely that's so that Jata Kunda, according to their representatives, definitely they are very, very, very good cooperative.
Suma dom de moma jindalon kër ngir dafa gis ci ciono bu ma nekk légui mu ñew mom artiste daf dé téga programme mu téga paré mu ne ma ya dama la bëgg génné ci problème légui xaaliss bu mu am 70,000 la mu ñëk dugal 40,000 bi after gaay kolat ko mu dugalat 20 bi after mu dugalat 10 muy 70 ndeke ñom fuñ ñu jox fofu nekkut sen place légui mu stade di sampa dem na ba def fa cabine de salle ak feñ ñu daane feñ bi légui ma ngi ni ñun luñu yaakaaron gannaaw yalla yonent ba day ci kër bi lañ ko dugal légui dama doon ñaan ngir ya su gaay mu ne delo xaaliss bi xalé bi xaalisam bu mu yaakaar seef ko ci banque bi yëpp la def ci kër bi 3 years duñ leen dee mëna gis légui suñ ma jappalé won man dama dé luwas dañ daane feñ bi bay fa néeg bi ñemeñ ñoo laal néeg bi ko xam nga xëccoo suuf la ñemeñu ma mané ko mu bayego mu hol doon waye gaay bo leen dee mëna call ñaata sim card la ñam so leen callé duñ dé jël sa call duñ ko dé jël.
In doubling its efforts, the Ministry of Land had handed 4 vehicles to 4 various regional offices such as URR, CRR, LRR and NBR. This, he said, would enable effective and efficient land management.
The regions to benefit from this today's handing over vehicles is the region of URR, that is the Upper River region, the Physical Planning Office, together with the Lands Office there, as well as the Central River region and the Lower River region and the North Bank region. The representatives of the Physical Planning Officers in those regions are with us here.
The press conference was meant to clear speculation surrounding the issue of land dispute between the 2 families and also gave victims the opportunity to hear from both families. But what the 2 families are ready to accept during negotiations with their victims is not known. Fatou Kamara reporting for the Fatou Network News Review.
By Parfum, the first perfume bar in Gambia. By Parfum moo leen indil beneen façon parfum sa boutique bu rafet bu yanj bu mucc ayib ca By Parfum di nga fa fekk ay cuuraay yu amul fenn te naturel jëm ak seddaay bi boole si nag air freshener yu doy waar mel ni Venus Flora Fresh 24 ay wuñu parfum bu classique waaye it bàyyi wuñu yi nga xam ne ñoo gën a famous si àdduna bi Oud Private Collection ak yeneen yu am solo for the first time ñëw leen ngeen découvrir Parfum Bar mbir mu bees si àdduna bi tànnal sa flavor bu la neex By Parfum ñu ngi nekk 54 Kayraba Avenue opposite American Embassy mën ngeen ñëw woo ci 77 00035 wala 529 1888.
Welcome back. Banka Mane joins me now, the US-based Gambian, but also based in the Gambia. If that is one person whose eyes are always fixated on Gambia, is Mr. Mane. Thank you very much for coming.
Happy to be here, Lamin.
Well, you've been in the country for the past few weeks. Tell us your assessment. What have you seen?
Well, you know, the interesting thing is I was here in 2018, and the usual, not much has changed. Really, still the same kind of rhetoric, the same tension, the same chaos, the same issues. So I don't know. I mean, the traffic problems I left behind once I found here.
Yes.
The congestion, the bad roads, the poor hospitals and poor schools and poor. So, you know, nothing has changed really.
In your opinion, why do you think this is? The fact that not much has changed since you last visited?
Well, look, I think the focus is where the problem is. At the end of the day, this is, when you look at countries like Senegal, I mean, this is not stuff that just happens out of a vacuum. They are very deliberate and they are policy driven. So if you keep the focus where it needs to go, then you can achieve these goals. But I think we are too distracted. I mean, as a nation, we are way too, we are like people studying to take that big exams and they decide they are going to party all day and, have a good time on the beach all day and all that kind of stuff without studying or putting the extra hours to really prepare fully for the exam. So in the end, I think we've just gotten distracted, and the distraction is the problem for this country. We are totally looking elsewhere. I mean, all the political jamborees, the excitement about politics and the issues surrounding party politics, how parties are going after each other, who draws the biggest crowd. We are not thinking, about the issues that really are the ones that are going to make life better for this country.
Let's look at it in the context of the new government then. Well, not so new now, for 4 years, that's what it has been in power. But when this new government was coming, there was a lot of hope, a lot of expectation on the part of the Gambian that really things are going to change, that finally, the country was going to move towards greater prosperity, greater development. 4 years.
Yeah.
That's what the Barrow government has been in power. In terms of delivering democratic dividends, why do you think this great expectation or hope that the Gambian people had in this government, yet you had this government that pledged, that vowed that things were going to change once it comes to office? I know you talked about we got distracted, but did you see this coming? The fact that this is a government that Gambians placed a lot of hope in, and this is where we are. Did you see this coming? Let's say back in 2017 when President Adam Barrow went to the Independence Stadium.
Yes, funnily enough, I kind of, and my friends, Coach and Musa will attest to this. For me, from the very beginning, I kind of began to get really concerned. Because with politicians, there is a simple trick as to know where they are going.
Yes.
When you ask a politician a question, don't listen to what they are saying, listen to what they are not saying. A lot of times we tend to pay too much attention to sound bites. That's what the politician is saying. Look for what they are not saying. And unfortunately, I didn't hear, and again, what they are not saying, I didn't hear anything that really showed me there was commitment to the fulfillment of the aspirations that were stipulated in the MOU, for instance.
Yes.
So once I began to notice that the MOU, the one that should have been the really the guiding document for what we are about to do is literally, in fact, the word, listen, I mean, go back and listen to what they were saying. Oh, it wasn't signed, it wasn't this, it wasn't that. People were trashing it. I mean, literally, that's what they were doing. So for me, when I saw that, I knew right away that we were in big trouble. Because this was a document that was supposed to guide us. This was the document that basically bind us together. It's the one that the Gambian people voted on. It was the mandate that they were given. You ran on this document, and people voted for you based on this document, these promises. So once you start to walk away from those promises or walking them back, that should be a concern to anybody. So really, at that point, I started to say, I think this is going to falter.
And when they were starting out, they started as a unit, different political parties, but they came together and managed to topple the former president. But these are different political parties, so some political pundits might say, well, this is expected. But yet, these are people that shared the same problem. They shared the same reality. These are people who had been in the opposition for far too long. And really, it is safe to say that they knew or understood the problems of the country. And they should be able to solve it when they get the opportunity or the chance. Don't you agree?
No, I think, look, I think the MOU became a document of convenience because it was the only, you have to have something like that. You have to look like you are better than Jammeh. You have to look like you are going to usher in something new, fresh, and different. So the MOU gave them that cover to present something that's going to sound like that. But as far as the reality is concerned, I think the only thing that bind them actually together wasn't necessarily the MOU. Again, outwardly, that they had to all gravitate towards that and use it as the binding force because that's the only way they could be together. But in reality, I think the only thing truly that really bound them together was the desire to get to see Jammeh gone. So, and when Jammeh was gone, then obviously what brought them together is no more there. So division ensued. So I think really that's the best way for me to explain it. So that was, you know, these whole talk about we're going to do this, we're going to do that was just to kind of, it was a smoke screen. It's just to kind of bamboozle the populace.
And one of the things that happened, fortunately or unfortunately, has to do with the very deal that mattered the most. The deal of President Barrow doing just 3 years and then step aside. And then we started showing all these signs that this president is saying, no, I am doing 5 years. I'm not doing. But a lot of people pin this to what happened previously. One of the very important stakeholders in Damo standing and saying, hey, look, anyone who says that he's going to resign 3 years, meet me in court. And then, I mean, we start seeing the president being bold enough to say he's going to do 5 years. Don't you think, in your opinion, do you think that is where everything, all the problems, that is where it began?
No, it was part of the problems, but not necessarily where it all started. Look, I believe Barrow had no intention of just doing these 3 years. Again, this whole thing about everything in that MOU, people just were paying it lip service. They had to agree to that. They had to go along with it because they know that's the only way to keep them together, to get the people's buy-in into the change and all that. But truly the commitment to what is in that document, I don't think was ever there. So I don't believe that even when that MOU was the guiding, you know, they had it at the time that they had it, I don't think even at that point Barrow truly wanted to just serve 3 years and leave. He just said to himself, I'm sure he must have said to himself, look, I can't stand here and tell these people I want to go 5 years, or by the way, after the 5 years I want to run.
So he was just trying to convince himself that.
You got to go along with it and say, okay, I'll do it in 3 years. Once we get in there, hey, you know, it's anybody's game. And I do believe that even Ousainou Darboe too saw it like that. He was not committed to the MOU. He wasn't. Ousainou trashed the MOU. Basically, he was saying, I mean, this talk about not signed. He was part of the debate.
Yeah.
So it's not like even Ousainou or Barrow or any of these guys, and not only them, really, to be fair to them. OJ wasn't committed to the MOU. Mai Fati wasn't committed to the MOU.
So this was about all
the
of
vice
them?
president. Yeah, I said Ture wasn't coming. No, this was a convenient thing. They just sat down together and said, look, Halifa Andre brought this thing. Let's go along with it. This is the only way we can keep us together, get us going, get the population also to buy into what we are about to do, and get the votes. Let's just say yes, okay. And once it, like I said, what bind them, truly bind them together, which is the removal of Jammeh out of power. When that was gone, they found no reason to continue to be together anymore. And that's why they started firing, literally firing each other.
Yes. So really this was a marriage that never was, a union that never was.
Correct. It really was. And I think they should just be honest enough to admit that fact. It's okay. If you want to admit that, look, Jammeh's removal was an overriding factor. It was so, look, we all yielded to stuff that we probably wouldn't have done or agreed to if it wasn't for the desire to remove Jammeh out of power. Because to be honest, and to be fair to them, our struggle got to a point where the removal of Jammeh was the singular most important agenda for everybody. We didn't care who.
And nothing else mattered.
No, this and nothing. The opposition leaders and the parties need to admit this. Yes. I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, guys. Yes, to be honest, this was the deal.
That was
because
no
we were. Oh yeah,
post Jammeh.
You could bring us a dog, and we'll have it there. You could bring us anything, and you could bring the change in any form. It could have been led by anybody. You could package the change in any form. We just wanted Jammeh gone. At that point.
And I remember interviewing a woman. She was very tired when the coalition went on a campaign and Barrow was coming back to Banjul. That is this old woman. She was really tired. There was a pavement that she spread her, just a piece of cloth, and was laying there. And then I stood over her and then asked her, why are you supporting the coalition? You went with the coalition on tour, and she said yes. I said, why the coalition? She said, well, I just want Jammeh out. So that points to what basically you are saying there. But it got to a point, these are not necessarily stakeholders, but these are just concerned citizens. Well, I know there are, theories out there that these are UDP. It's UDP that sponsored them. But you had this group of Gambians who wanted the president to stick to that promise of doing just 3 years. And then it's 3 years, Jodna group. What do you make of their campaign in asking the president to resign? That way, that will effectively mark the end of the transition, a transition that, a lot has not been achieved. But then you had this group that came out to say he must go.
Well, for me, generally when it comes to matters of protest, I am very, very, very strongly for people's right to protest. So when issues like this come up, I tend to, even if I don't agree with your reasons, I tend to defend your rights to do it. I disagree, and with the 3-year thing, that's how I was, really. I didn't agree with their reasons, but I was more or less advocating for their right to protest. Because I don't believe people need any right, any reason. The moment you start to say, oh, they have to have a good reason, what is a good reason? By whose standards? I mean, who decides what is good reason and what is bad reason? So, as far as the 3-year thing is concerned, if you ask me, it was all political. It was political. I mean, Barrow was their Barrow. When they realized Barrow wasn't their Barrow anymore, they thought, hey, this is one little thing promise that we can tie around his neck and start dragging him all around town and call him whatever we want to call him. So they wanted to tie that noose of 3-year noose around his neck and tie, drag him all over town. That was the whole agenda. It was political. So, and do they have a reason, the right to do it? Absolutely, it's politics. In the end, they decided, look, you don't want to play by our rules. We had a little agreement with you, wink, wink. We told you, you don't only need to stay for a little bit and leave. And our guy will come in, and you don't seem to buy into that agenda anymore because you have your own new guys, new friends. You are sidelining us. Well, we're going to show you what time it is. So that's what 3 years was all about. If you take the political aspect out of it, out of the demand itself, I don't think anything really is left. Because if you don't have, for instance, the split between Dabo and Barrow, trust me, there would have been no fight over 3 years. it just wouldn't have happened.
It wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, so with these things, our role is not necessarily to kind of play one side's issue or another. Our role really is to call it for what it is. In the end, politicians will play their politics, and that's okay. It's politics. And that's what makes it exciting. You see it everywhere. Republicans will take a position that you know is purely political. And because they will take it today, and the next day they flip. And then you are sitting there going, but wait a minute. Lindsey Graham said this yesterday. Today he's taking a whole 180-degree turnaround on it. And because it's the party agenda, that's how it rolls. So it is what it is.
It is what it is. But also what we have seen, the president, I mean, this was the first real resistance against the president's rule. He survived it. And what happened next was that the president's confidence level was soaring. Well, he was all fired up. And then here is the president still going strong. But also, some of the things that we have seen has to do with him hiring hands that, a lot of members of the coalition, for example, UDP, of trying to bring in those people that worked with Jammeh, for example. And the president had said that when he gets to power, he wasn't going to work with anybody that has worked with Jammeh.
Yeah.
But then at some point, the president started hiring them, and he said, look, these are Gambians. They have every right to work in my government.
Barrow came into power, saw what the infrastructure that Jammeh created for an incumbent president. And he was excited. He forgot completely. He got comfortable. He forgot completely where we all came from, where it all started. Because he's looking at this and saying, oh, really? You could get all this stuff? But the people who could really execute that plan on that, as far as that infrastructure and its goodies are concerned, the old guard. They are very familiar with that terrain.
Yes.
And they know how to play that game very, very well. So, and that's why he just kind of gravitated towards them. He's like, you know what? If I want to stay in power for as long as I want to, because he wants to stay in power for a long time. Yes. If I want to be able to get all the powers that I want to get for myself, like a lot of these powers that Jammeh was enjoying, I better bring in his guys, the architects of this whole process. They were the builders. I'm going to bring them back in and have them execute this game plan for me. And that's why he didn't see a problem bringing them. Is it unfortunate? Very, very unfortunate. Because, again, it betrays our aspirations as a people. At the end of the day, our goal was to take a departure from that. That was the whole reason for the change, is to bring in something new, vibrant, different. But when you are pretty much drinking the old wine from a new bottle, what's the difference?
But don't you think it could be said elsewhere that the president did this strictly based on the spirit of reconciliation? Because at the end of the day, I mean, we are all Gambians.
When we see reconciliation, we know it.
This is not, don't look like reconciliation.
No, it's not. When you see reconciliation, you know it. You know this one is really for a reconciliation. It wasn't. The reason why I'm saying that is, with reconciliation, you don't alienate one side and bring in another side. That's not reconciliation, which is what literally has happened. In reconciliation, you bring all sides together and try to build a coalition and say, hey, guys, we're all in this together. We either swim together, how do you call it, swim together or sink together, whatever, however you call it. Yes. At the end of the day, you are bringing in all sides and making sure you are the unifying force behind all of them, regardless of whether you like this one or not. But essentially what we have seen is some were sidelined, some were not. All allies too. This is not, we are pushed aside to bring in these new guys. And it didn't have to be. If everybody was on the same boat, in other words, you bring that grand coalition of everybody, old and the new, and bring all of us together, and without alienating this group or that person, then that's reconciliation. Because we are trying to unite. But when it's the other way around, which is what we have seen, while this group is being brought in, this other side is being kicked out. So it's more, I don't know, I don't think you can call that reconciliation,
But for example, at least when it comes to, for example, UDP, when the president was sacking their members from his government, what the president advanced is that these people he found them guilty of undermining his government.
You know, personally, you know, I have a personal thing about this whole, especially cabinet positions, a president firing people that he doesn't believe are loyal. I think the president has the prerogative to do that, and the president should be able to do that. In fact, I would advise the president, if you don't trust somebody in your cabinet, fire them. You know why? Because at the end of the day, your agenda and whatever you are putting, if everything gets messed up, they blame you, the president.
Because
God
will stop it.
Absolutely.
You, of course, yes.
So you want people around you and in your immediate cabinet, at least, that you can trust, that are loyal to the cause, that are going to be fully participating in the process, in the agenda. Now, if you feel there are people in there that are sabotaging that, or you just don't trust, you don't think you can work with them, I think the president should be able to get rid of those people from the cabinet. Now, I'm not saying in the wider government going around and firing people in departments, and that is what I personally have a problem with. Because that is not, the government machinery is not a political position. Yeah. Cabinet is a political position. You are bringing in people to further literally your political agenda.
Yes.
You know, because that mandate that you run on and your policies, they are more politics than anything else. So in the end, you should be able to have leverage in that regard. Government presidents will come and go, but government stays. So you don't meddle with that. You don't go in there to departments kicking and bringing PM in just because you want full loyalty from them. That's not totally unfair. It's wrong. So that's personally what I have a problem with. So I always make a distinction between the two. As far as cabinet positions, that's a political position. The president should be able to choose people he can trust, he can work with, that he likes, that he believes will be fully on board with his program. And if he doesn't think you will be, he has every right to get rid of you.
Now, let's talk about 2020. I mean, since March, I mean, the world has stopped moving. Difficult year, really. The pandemic, Donald Trump calls it the China virus. This virus came and then literally, and then it got to Gambia too. And really, I mean, clearly the country is struggling in terms of dealing. But what do you make of his government's response in terms of the coronavirus pandemic?
I think it was a woeful, I mean, it was a failure of the highest order. I don't think the government did, because look, we just had a lucky break. And you know, I always tell people, maybe we have what we call a herd immunity. I'm not an expert in this, but I'm thinking there's a herd immunity going on. Because when I arrived here, I was shocked at the callous nature that people are treating this disease. There is just this
level of carelessness.
It got to a point where even myself, I felt it was pointless wearing a mask because
nobody's wearing it.
Nobody is. And masks are only effective when everybody's wearing it. But if you are the only person in the whole 100, 200, 2,000 people in a room wearing a mask, experts will tell you that's pointless. Yes. So in the end, we all had to get on the program. But, you know, taking the COVID-19 as seriously as they needed to, when, I mean, that didn't happen. Political campaigns were going on. You know, they are gathering people in big tents. The president is doing big stuff and bringing in all these people. So it's almost like they just have forgotten that there is something called COVID. And in the meantime, let me tell you something. People are dying like flies in this country, even as we speak. And nobody tends to explain what is really killing them. I don't know. I'm not an expert again. I don't want to sit here and speculate and say, oh, it's COVID or it's this. I'm just saying there seems to be a trend that everybody is acknowledging at least and saying, oh,
people are dying. Yes, of course, clearly. Yeah.
What is causing it? I don't know. It could be something else. But all I'm saying is there is something called COVID and it's wreaking havoc in the world. And governments are shutting down their airports. They are shutting down basically lockdown everywhere. Because this thing is serious and it's dangerous and it's killing people. Now, why it's not kind of, we're not seeing the kind of, I would say, scenario that we were predicting that we could possibly have here if we didn't take it seriously, like mass people dying en masse and all that. I don't know why that is not happening. So that's why I'm thinking maybe there is some herd immunity going on too. Because, I mean, there is no, And I tell people, there's no COVID.
And I'm not also even sure that they are testing people nowadays, because all the time there are reports. I receive them like almost every day, but when I receive a report, I only see one case registered. So I tend to really wonder, is testing even happening in this country?
I think let's just stop pretending. Let's just stop pretending and say, you know what, we are not going to put any resources into this thing anymore. We're just going to move on and let life come back to normal, maybe, I guess, then. Because what we have right now, we're just fully kidding ourselves.
And the president has, brought himself flags by going on, he says it's his constitutional right to do so, but he's touring the country, crisscrossing every nook and cranny of the country. Yeah. Today he has hit the road again in Fonyi, Buyam. And you see the pictures. Really, it's worrying. These are super spreaders, what you call super spreaders in the US.
Yeah. I see them and I cringe. And, believe it or not, the naming ceremonies are in full swing. The birthdays are in full swing.
The parties, the clubs.
The weddings are in full swing,
yes.
Full swing, the clubs. I mean, it's as if though there is nothing going on as far as this issue is concerned. So, I don't know. I don't know. And it takes leadership. You see, that's where I blame the president, because with these things, unfortunately, we've seen that in America, where Donald Trump, being the president, when he started to undermine the experts and sound judgment, medical advice, all kinds of stuff, trashing those things and calling, and even these masking, mocking people who are wearing masks, social distancing, because he was organizing these mega rallies and big rallies in stadiums and places. Before the bigger the crowd, the better. That kind of thing. We've seen how devastating that has been. He is leaving power, but the United States is facing a surge that is even much, much more serious than even when Trump was fully in charge. And it's because of him, because he undermined this whole effort to, take care of these things. Mm-hmm. So now the U.S. is paying a heavy, heavy price for this. So many more people are dying. So many more people are getting infected every day. It's not even funny. So, and that's why leadership is very critical in a national emergency like this, because it's the leader who sets the tone. The president wearing masks, the president social distancing, the president warning people about the need to wash their hands and follow all the protocols, the president making sure that events that are going to be super spreaders, as we describe them, don't take place. The president has to take the lead. The moment he starts to break the rules, who else is supposed to follow?
But at least in his Christmas message, the president said we should still adhere to the rules, and then
that's why I said we should stop
wear face mask.
We should start pretending, and just admit and just say, look, life is back to normal. Let's have fun. Let's move on. Those who catch it, catch it. Those who die, sorry. and just be honest about it, rather than these mixed messages. How can you organize these big mega rallies and turn around and say, oh, by the way, COVID is still around. Wear your mask. It doesn't make sense.
And let me pull you a little bit back. I know, maybe this should have come first, but then all the same, the 8th region, the diaspora.
Right.
When it comes to this country, their importance cannot be overemphasized. Mm-hmm. Someone who has lived in the diaspora all this number of years, what do you make of your contribution? Because it would appear that the diaspora does not just contribute monetarily, does not just send back remittance, but the diaspora is very much steeped into the political, but also even the social life of this country. What do you make of your contribution?
It's just sad that there is this us against them kind of scenario being, pushed as far as diaspora and the ones on the ground. And with this globalized world, there is nothing called diaspora and home-based anymore. This is why, the Gambians in diaspora, every day when they wake up, Gambia's issue is what on their agenda. Gambian media is all they watch. Gambian music is all they listen to. Gambian food is what they cook. Gambian issues are what they discuss. Gambian affairs are what they participate in. Gambian programs are what they have. In other words, these folks, they may be in the United States or UK or Greater Europe or other places, or even in Senegal or other places. But what we say, Georgia on my mind, Gambia is what's on their mind, because Gambia is what really gets them to gets them excited, is the one that gets them sad, is the one that gets them worried, is the one that gives them sleepless nights. Gambia is the one that does that to them. You'll be amazed when you are in diaspora how the diasporans react to every news from the ground. And trust me, they know more about, let me tell you a funny joke.
Go ahead.
Since I came to this country, I've been on kind of a news blackout.
That's because you don't know what is going on?
I don't know what's going on in Gambia all of a sudden. But those
when you are there.
So if I want to know what's happening in Gambia, I call them and I say, guys, so what are they saying today? So just to show you.
It's amazing.
How, so it's, and I'm sure you notice this.
Of course.
So what I'm trying to say is, whether this is, so it's no surprise that Njaga Jang gave up his life for this country.
Yes.
It's no surprise that Adja Nyas gave his life for this country. It's no surprise then that
all these, dissidents,
Lamin Sanneh gave his life. Exactly. It's no surprise, because for those people, in the end, Gambia is what really gets their blood boiling when they hear something bad is happening to the Gambian people. Yes. So this idea that there is a Gambian here and there is a diasporan and they are up against each other, I think people who try to perpetuate such are doing it for their own purely selfish interests. Because they see, I think, for instance, when you start to see those from the diaspora as a competition, or that they are aliens, or that they are people to be afraid of, or these are people that they, that should not be participating in their government or their country. For people who contribute, 20% of GDP, for people who died fighting for this country, for people who invested so much, even this new government that is in power, the amount of money that they pumped into it. So, but there is always this deliberate attempt to make it look like there is a diaspora and there is a... And no, in this globalized world, in this day and age, that doesn't obtain anymore. At the end of the day, what you have is people that truly want to participate fully in the running of their country, in the affairs of their nation. Look at all the GoFundMes that are going on right now.
That is the diaspora.
They are contributing every day. Hugely. They are contributing so much to either it's a girl going to school, whether it's a woman that is sick, whether it's that a man that has been crippled or has his legs amputated, or that, they are always into something, contributing money, fundraising, getting medical equipment to send it back here. So these people, remittances, families are relying heavily on those people. So in the end, when they called it the 8th region, I was personally excited about that, because what that means is, I think that's a full acknowledgement of what they represent. That just as you would say, Western region or that region, you are acknowledging them as part of the region. In other words, they may not be physically within the boundaries of the country, but they are here spiritually, morally. You go through all the everything. Financially, they are here. They are invested here. This is where they want to be. This is where they want to invest. This is what the country that they want to change. Everything that they are learning in the West, every experience that they are gathering over there, every inspiration that they get from those countries, they want to have those here. When diasporans sit among themselves and they talk about their various countries, whether people living in the UK, they look at the UK system, or they watch their parliament, or they watch their leaders, and they crave to have such kind of leadership and approach to issues in their own country. When they see roads and hospitals and the healthcare system, they hope that the Gambia's own system can be just like that. When the schools that they go to, the facilities that are available, the instructional materials that are provided to them, they pray that Gambia has such. So they want everything good that they find out there to be brought here, and so that this country can be the same. And they also want to come home. Every one of them wants to come home. They love their country despite the chaos, the issues, the problems. So I think it's about time that gets fully, not just recognized or acknowledged by way of just saying 8th region, but doing something that is both meaningful and real. It's important to do that. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs needs to engage the diasporans fully and make sure that they start to take concrete steps, because that's going to help the country and the government itself. These people, their contribution is immense. But when you start to see them as troublemakers, because diasporans are vocal. Now, the secret to that is, all you got to do is give them a listening ear and start to incorporate some of their ideas. In other words, work in partnership with them. That noise is going to die down. They are yelling because nobody is listening. They are screaming because they don't feel they are heard. And that problem right there, not being heard or listened to, or even being ignored in many instances, is what tends to increase the volume of these yelling and the screaming and the social media tension.
The hype, all of that.
Yeah, it's a sign of, I would say, you know, the government's refusal to engage them. It's a sign of frustration. Yeah.
And every now and then also you see some diaspora Gambians wanting to contribute, wanting to be heard, giving their opinion and suggestions. And some would even go take the trouble of coming back home, and when they come, they get branded as people that are looking for a job.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that?
I have heard all kinds of stuff, and I keep telling them, look guys, I'm not here looking for a job. Thank God I have a job that is not even in government. I appreciate it, but thank you.
Yes.
But no, look, I think that unfortunately that kind of attitude is what I was referring to, because there's this us against them kind of thing, and it shouldn't be. If a diaspora wants a job, wants to work for his government,
that is absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Encouraged.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
That's to be encouraged, because that means somebody who wants to go and contribute to his country. Encourage people to want to work for their government.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But this idea that, if they criticize because they don't have a job, that's why they're criticizing. That is so twisted. It's not even funny, because the people that sometimes you can say that about Bankamane, he's criticized because he wants a job. Yes. Because I'm the least educated guy over there. But I'm telling you, a lot of the guys that they accuse of this kind of stuff, I think about it, I just go, wow, this is amazing. Because these are people who literally, Gambia government cannot pay. Because the kind of salary they make in the West, Gambia government cannot pay them that kind of salary. So if they are to leave their job and come here to work, you better believe they are doing it at a huge discount. So this idea that those guys, all they are craving for is to leave their lucrative jobs or good jobs and high-paying jobs in the West and come here, because you got to understand, let's put it this way, even somebody who is just a regular office worker in the West, in the United States for instance, even if that person is only making, let's say, $45,000 a year, let's put it like that. How much, calculate $45,000 a year into Gambian currency. Exactly, and somebody might say, oh, but what about the cost of living? Let me tell you something, Lamin. It's more expensive living here than in the West.
Of course, food is expensive.
Gas is more expensive, food is more expensive, housing is more expensive. So they would
still have something to say.
Exactly. Yeah. So this idea that, oh, no, but because and 45 is not much. I'm just using that as an example. But that person can survive on that far beyond. I mean, so in the end, the logic that people that are complaining or that are yelling or screaming are doing this because they are frustrated that they are not given a job, I think is so false. It's not even funny, and it should be. It shouldn't be, because you should encourage those people to come. They have a lot to offer, a lot to offer. One of the biggest issues that I see here, and we can learn a great deal from the West. Western nations are very smart, because they are not too proud to learn from others. Most ideas that you see in the UK are not UK ideas. In fact, they will tell you that.
They will tell you.
They will tell you this one is from, look at even science and technology. Math, from where? Middle East. All the science stuff, you go back and look at each and every one of them, they literally borrowed them from other places, from Asia, from Middle East, from Africa, from everywhere. This is what you will truly find that is truly British, like original British. I don't even think British can point that to you. They cannot. Because everything about them and their life and how they are conducting issues and stuff are all borrowed from other people. Even democracy that you are hearing, democracy, is not a British concept.
It's not.
It came from Greece.
Yes.
They borrowed it. Because somebody looked at it and said, you know what, I want that idea, bring it. We want to hear.
Yes. Let me see what I can get out of it.
This is the idea. So don't really, this idea that everything foreign is bad, let's reject it. And that's what I see here most of the time. Oh, this is a Western concept. This is a Western idea. They are bringing these diasporans. They come here with their Western ideas. And I'm like, guys, you should be excited that they are bringing Western ideas. Because the West also borrowed their great stuff from elsewhere. And that's how they advance their society. We should be willing to do that. Let's embrace ideas from every corner of the world. The best practices from every corner of the world. It will only help to change this nation and make it that wonderful, amazing, shining city on the hill that we aspire to have.
Let's talk a little bit then more on politics there. What we have also seen since the change of government, there's been a great deal of excitement politically. We're seeing more and more people coming forward, coming into politics, forming their own political parties. Now how many political parties we have? It's a lot. It's staggering. We have that. But what we also have, that you could see the evolution, how it all happened, and then you have even the president now has his own political party, the NPP, and then it's massive really. It's staggering to see the NPP making so much impact in the short life that it has lived. Right. What do you make of that? The fact, I mean, I know even young people are coming up now to joining politics now. What do you make of that?
Of the NPPs,
all the emergence of all the political parties, NPP.
If there is any, I was telling somebody, I was doing an interview today about, because tomorrow is December 30th.
Exactly.
And I was telling somebody, most of us, and myself included, see the glass half full. This change, yes, we talked about the disappointments and all the issues that we've had and not being able to fulfill our dreams. But what the other aspect of it is, change has been good in another aspect, which is the democracy aspect. I mean, now political parties, parties are flourishing in this country. Everybody can set up their party now and go out there and, hey, duke it out. If you believe you have something to offer, bring it on. And that's an exciting thing. And for me, that's what makes me so excited about the Gambia and its future. Because as long as we have at least some excitement about something that we can look forward to, and as long as we allow for people to be able to fully express their views and put their agenda on the table and push their agenda, as long as we allow for a plural society, a plural democratic society, open space, I think anything is possible. Anything. We have infrastructural problems, we have economic problems, we have healthcare problems, we have education problems, we have security problems. But, as long as we kind of keep pushing these things in that direction, the possibilities are endless. There are immense possibilities in this country. I see potential all over the place. And that's because we have a free society, at least. Freedom can do amazing things for people.
For people.
Yeah.
And you look at the president and his party, it would appear that the president is leveraging on the power of incumbency, and some political pundits would say that he's already running away with it.
Yes, he is. I think if the elections were held...
You hold that view too?
Yes. If the elections were held today, I do believe Barrow will win. Now, what's going to happen in the next few months or in a year's time, I don't know. But as far as things stand right now, I think that he's enjoying all the advantages of incumbency, and in addition to that, this guy is not, like I said, he's totally distracted. For Barrow now, it's all about winning, and he's campaigning big time for that. He has all the resources, he has all the connections, all the infrastructure, and
If you go to the camp like UDP, they would simply dismiss this.
No, UDP.
I speak to them and they say, no, that's not true.
And I have been having this conversation with UDP members a lot, both in private and in public. Look, if UDP just needs to acknowledge the reality of the situation, because if there is a party here that can really take on Barrow and win, it's UDP. But what it needs to do at the same time is to acknowledge what is so apparent and then work on it. Because it's, when you when you accept reality for what it is and say, okay, this is the reality, then you can really come up with a game plan that's going to counter that reality and deal with it. But when you're in denial, that's a different ball game, because you are in denial.
And that's a problem there, because if you look at one of the parties clearly that is struggling, some people would say NPP is slaughtering them politically, it's GDC. But it would appear that GDC, whenever you ask their people, what they tell you is that, no, it's not okay. These people are leaving while others are coming in.
Well, I can understand why GDC is doing that, and I don't blame them. Because you cannot acknowledge, you know, that you are dying, obliterated, or you are dying, a dying party. You cannot say that. I mean, what you can do is to say, yes, we got dead, but we are bringing
manage the narrative.
Exactly, manage the narrative in a certain way. I think on the what I meant on the other hand though is when it comes to UDP, I'm not even saying UDP should go out there and say to all the world, oh yeah, Barrow won, so we have lost. You don't do that, publicly at least. But I hope that privately, they are sitting there with the view to accepting the fact that the way things are, the road to victory is becoming clearer and clearer on Barrow's part. And the more it does it in Barrow's part, the more it kind of fades on their side. So, because with these things, you have to sit there and look at it and say, okay, what's the road to victory? How is this party going to win? So tell me something sensible. Tell me, okay, this is a support base here, they have a support base here, here's a population here, this is this member here, and then kind of put all those numbers together and give me something realistic I can look at and say, okay, that's a path to victory. But when it's looking more and more like this one here, his path to victory is becoming more and much clearer. You can see it. That, well, this region, that region, this place, that place, and how about here? Yes. And then you add all that together and you can see that, oh, it's going to be hard to beat. That's the reality. So Barrow is becoming harder and harder and harder to beat. So what these parties need to do is acknowledge that. And when I say acknowledge that, then what it does is, you can at least say, you know what, maybe we need a coalition really bad. Because Barrow has built himself a coalition, and that has given him a huge edge. Yes. There's a coalition in town. I mean, even before that, NPP is what? NRP, PPP, GPDP. I mean, Isaac Ture and his supporters. Yes. I mean, I can go through all the, you know, you get my point. So Barrow has built himself a nice, cozy coalition. And though that coalition has created a certain critical mass of people and even tribes, if you will, in a certain way, that have pretty much, you know, all, they are consolidating that. And once he fully consolidates that, then he starts to encroach on your base, because he can. He was one of you. Yes. In the case of UDP, yes. He was one of them. The hardcore will refuse, but those, what we call low-hanging fruits, could fall. And so this is the danger that you face. So you want to start to consolidate on your end too, and start and work on encroaching on his end. This is how you can win. But if now he is consolidating and at some point he's going to start encroaching, you are in trouble, because now you are not fighting in his territory, you are now fighting in your territory. The ball is in your court. Yes. I mean, so the likelihood of him scoring is higher than you scoring, because
he is on the offensive and you are played in your he is on the offensive and you are on the defensive. Yes.
Yeah. So who's likely to win in that case? If you are on the defensive, unless there is what we call a break, some kind of a lucky break, and then boom, somebody, the ball gets kicked up, you know, like a Hail Mary, as we say in America, and then you pull it off. But you want to rely on a luck like that? No, you want to do something.
You don't want to risk that.
You don't want to. You don't want to, because.
What do you make of what at least some political pundits would call the kingmakers, APRC, a party that is trying to dust itself off after the 2016 humbling? Some political pundits recently jointly authored a piece, and they call them the kingmakers. What do you make of their role? There is no dismissing them clearly.
You know, let me put it this way. Yeah, APRC can be kingmakers, one, you know, that kind of thing. But I think that kingmaker role is being overblown. It's not necessarily I don't think it's necessarily the case. The reason why I'm saying that is APRC has a very loyal base, a very, very, very loyal base that will go and answer anywhere, anytime they are called. But unfortunately, that loyal base is what they got left with, that hardcore. All the ones that are, their soft supporters are all gone. They are elsewhere. Most of them have gone to NPP.
Yes, most of them.
Some of them have gone to smaller parties here and there. So the hardcore is all they have left. What I call the APRC code internal nationalists. Yes. People who by hook or crook they are gonna go anywhere. For them, they live and die for Jammeh and their hardcore, whatever. Exactly. So those are the ones that are still there, and they are a nice chunk. But I don't think they are enough to really, if Barrow was going to win, that they can tilt the election in a different direction. Or if, say, if UDP gets them, that will help a lot, boost their numbers. But in the end, I mean, it doesn't necessarily also mean that just by them virtually joining with UDP, then that all of a sudden changes its dynamics. No. I think all these other parties that are still being counted out, like DOI, for instance, because you see, what has happened to DOI over time during the course of this is that a lot of people really see it as a party of integrity, that people that they can trust, and da. So there is a group that is the silent number of people that will go vote for DOI. Is it much difference? Is it going to make much difference for DOI? In other words, make them become competitive? I don't think so, unless they do other things. But if, for instance, UDP, DOI, GD, whatever is left of GDC, yes, and these other parties all come together, that would be a game changer. Because now you will have a coalition being built on this other side that truly has a chance to counter Barrow's coalition. Yes. So in either way, the UDP has to go out there and seek to build a coalition of sorts. If it doesn't, and it just wants to go it alone like that, it's going to be very, very, very difficult. Now, APRC for its part, just by virtually endorsing this party or that party, I don't think whether that's going to make or break the whole, change the whole dynamic. The configuration. All of a sudden. So that's why I don't see them like the kind of kingmaker role people want to assign to them, because yeah, they have a core that really, really will vote for APRC no matter what. And that core is significant, but it's not significant enough to really kind of designate them at this point right now as quote-unquote kingmakers, whoever they endorse that person or that party wins automatically. No, I don't think so.
Samanga, I would be lacking in care if you don't talk about the reforms. I mean, this government clearly, what it did also is they rolled out all these beautiful reforms. The TRRC, security reform, the TRRC, transitional justice, if you like, new constitution. Let's start with the last one. The new constitution project. The Barrow government promised that a new constitution would be built that will effectively usher in this so-called Third Republic. But what we have seen is that it got to one of the most critical stages and it fumbled. I mean, the fingers of blame got pointed. What's your assessment in terms of the entire project? When this very, capable, if you like, that's my opinion, capable group of Gambians were tapped, appointed, hired to build this document, and then only for it to get to the National Assembly and the MPs say, hey, look, and mind you, these are MPs that are loyal to the president. As a Gambian, what is your assessment?
It is betrayal of the highest order, Lamin. For me, there is one single issue that really kind of pissed me off really, really bad. It was this constitution. Because with these, there is no way we can make a break from the past. There is no way we can usher in a new Gambia. There is no way we can claim to be different from the past. if we don't usher in this new draft constitution and do away with the 1997 constitution. In other words, it's the one that was going to give us a clean break. It would have been our way of saying goodbye to the past and here we come, the future. Now, when you insist that you are not going to have that new one, then you are simply saying, I prefer the old to the new. What do you like about the old? What is about the old that you are so excited about? That's suspect and it's scary because the old, what we know about the old, of the old,
yes.
I mean, that's not pretty. All Jammeh has left in his wake is destruction, killings, lives lost, properties, I mean, you name it. We want to be able to look at that and say, you know what, now we have a new law, new system. Because you see, when it comes to laws, society sits down and says, what are our values? What are our beliefs? What are the issues we care about as a people? Not as an individual, but as a people. Then they codify these things into laws. That's what laws are, especially the Constitution. They codify what are our aspirations, what kind of country or society do we want to build. These are the issues that drive a law. This is what they put into, and in other words, they write a law to address those things, that is to have those things, to make the society look exactly like that. That's what laws are. So, what is it about this new constitution that we hate so much, and that the values in this new one that we hate so much, and the values in the old that we like so much? So, and because the failure of the constitution has nothing to do with anything, it's the executive. Barrow didn't like the powers that were given to Parliament away from him, the fourth term being including his fourth term being included in the two-term thing. These are personal matters that when in fact they were not supposed to be personal. When these people wrote this constitution about that fourth term being included, they were not targeting Barrow, they were targeting the office, the term of the office. That's what they were targeting. It could have been Lamin Jai being in office. It could have been Bakamano being the president. And it would have applied to me, or to you, or to Binta, or Fatu, or, it could have been anybody. So, but when you sit there and say it's because it's me, you have personalized it. Laws that were made for the Ministry of Justice, or laws that were meant for, let me say, the Constitution, when it talks about the legislature. So the individual parliamentarian take that personal. Laws that were meant for the
judges,
the judiciary.
Judges.
So a judge take that personal and say, oh, this is for me. You don't personalize these things. It could be a law that the judge doesn't like. Yeah. There are a lot of things in the Constitution that I don't like. But I didn't take it personal. I didn't say, oh, you're going after me, da 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 da. No. In fact, there was once upon a time when everybody was saying, okay, because they came back and said, hey, we have a first draft. They called it draft 0. Come back if you don't like what you're saying. Tell us what you think. Yes. People wrote. Musa and I put together our own concerns. We said it to them. They looked at it. Other people all around the country, all around the world. Clear. Individuals around the country, including the executive, the cabinet. They were consulted. Everybody came back with their suggestions to change this, adjust that, take that out of there. That circular word, you didn't put it there. By the way, what about you? And they went back and tried to, negotiate all these different demands, because they know this is about the people at the end of the day. Did we all get everything we want out of that process? No. There were still things that I still looked at it. I was like, I don't like this one at all. But in the end, I was like, you know what? This is not about you, Banka. It's about the Gambia. So let's embrace it and let's move on, because this is the only way we can move forward. Otherwise, we'll be stuck in the past. So until we have a new constitution, this draft passed, we are still living in the past, Lamin.
Do you think the new constitution chief there, let's say the CRC, do you think they will feel betrayed by the president, the man who hired them to do this job, only for it to get to a point he backtracks and say, this is a bad job, I don't like this, and then they defeat it?
Well, I can only imagine what all of them were going through or went through. All the commissioners, you know, like I was Sabali and Cherno Jallo and he always says I don't pronounce his name right.
Gayso.
And you know,
and all the others,
Job and all of them. You know, I can go through all the names here. What I'm saying is, in the end, these are professionals. They know how to do their job, and they are good, decent, honorable citizens of this country. When they were called upon to do this, I'm sure they did it with a certain degree of pride that they were the chosen ones. Because this is a privilege to be part of that team. And they didn't disappoint. I know some of these people personally. They are men and women of the highest integrity. You couldn't have picked a better team than this. For them to go around the country for all this time and spend so many millions of dollars of taxpayer money. In other words, do all these things, and it all came down to zero.
And you have some people branding Cherno Suleiman Jallo, top justice there, as a UDP sympathizer.
Let me tell you something about Cherno Suleiman Jallo is actually, disclosure, is my in-law.
Oh yes, okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, so, no. He is, if he has any, I don't know his political affiliation because I don't think he...
Well, he has challenged the whole country to march forth with evidence to suggest that he is affiliated to any...
Yeah, if he is part of any political party or sympathetic to any political party, I could never tell. Up to this day today, I cannot tell you where to...
And he said no one could. He really challenged the whole country.
I honestly can't.
To come out and say, okay, this is where he belongs with evidence.
I can't tell you. Nobody can. Because Cherno is the kind of guy, and even if he were a member of a political party, let's even say he was sympathetic to UDP. Let's just, even for the sake of argument, to say that. What does that have to do with anything, Lamin?
What
does that have to do with anything?
It would go very little, huh?
No, because the constitution is not about the UDP or NPP or any party. It's about the Republic of the Gambia. That's what it's about. So individuals that are going to sit on that panel to work on that thing, they are not there for political parties. They are there for the nation. So this idea that, let's even assume, and again, I don't know where he, but let's even assume that he was. And so what? And so what? Is that the litmus test now all of a sudden? That if you are a member of a political party, if you are a member of a UDP, you are not supposed to serve in this, or you're not supposed to be there, you're not supposed to be there. This is about our country. Like I said, Barrow has every right to fire UDP members out of his cabinet. But I do believe that's where it stops. When it comes to the country, the government and the departments, we shouldn't be getting into who is what party. People will have their sympathies, and they have every right.
And you know, this country, it is very easy for Gambians to be sipping their tea or coffee and look at you and say, and brand you and place you in one. I get it. You know,
Gambians
are very brutal when it comes to that.
A friend of mine came to me the other day and said, "You never told us that you are NPP." I said, "How am I NPP?" He said, "I have a picture of you at an NPP rally." I said, he showed me this picture of this guy who apparently looks like me. Really, I have to admit. He was wearing a mask too. And but the dressing was not how I dress. You know, if you know me, I don't dress like that. But anyway, I said to him, "Look, this can't be me." He said, "It looks like you." I said, "Well, just because it looks like me, so you want to insist that it's me now?" He said, "No, it's you." I said, "Okay."
You know, myself, that is the...
There's nothing wrong with being NPP, though. There's nothing wrong with it.
Exactly. That is what I've been going through every day. UDP people, every day they say, okay, he's anti-UDP. He's anti-UDP. Barrow people, they say, okay, he's a UDP supporter, sympathizer. And just a few days ago, there's this very hardcore UDP supporter. And then we were chit-chatting. I said, look, it looks like Barrow is winning this election. And you guys are not admitting, hey, this guy. He went around town telling everybody that is NPP, be careful of him.
That's it. People have to box you into
and if you go to NPP forums, they say this man is big time UDP. they all do that. So yeah, it's very interesting.
But no, I mean, there's no look. People who are in the NPP should be proud that they are in the NPP. They are NPP members. People that are in the UDP should be proud that they are UDP members. This shouldn't sound like an insult all of a sudden when you brand somebody. I guess that's a way of trying to create suspicion all over the place. Because otherwise, what is so wrong with being NPP, Lamin? I have friends that are NPP, and I'm proud of them. I love them dearly, and they have every right to be NPP. Absolutely.
Absolutely. We have a few more things to discuss, but then transitional justice. I mean, we know that it's an investigation, the probe TRRC. The amount of evidence, the sick things that came out of this investigation, it's incredible. Did you see, or did you ever think that some of the things that we've had, or the TRRC has had, did it ever occur to you that this country, small Gambia, some of those things could ever happen in this country?
Well, I mean, for me, because when we were in this struggle, we used to get all these, most of the things that they are saying in the TRC are not news to me, personally, because we had access to this information. Our challenge was always putting it out there, because when we did, I'm the execution, when Yaya executed the prisoners. And I'm not going to mention the name, but the person now works in the government. Yes. I did this interview with these media outlets about the execution and all that. And this guy called me. Apparently, Al Jazeera was supposed to interview him. He's a journalist. Yes. Al Jazeera was going to interview him. So he got nervous. He got a cold feet because he didn't want to go there and acknowledge that there was an execution because they didn't believe that Jammeh executed prisoners. He calls me up. He said, Banka, you've been very prominent in this execution story. Because, Dr. Janet sent it to Ndeye, and they we are working together, so we were the ones who put the news out there. So, anyway, he said to me, so I want you to just be honest with me, Banka, just between you and I, just the two of us. Did this really happen, or this is just a propaganda? I said, no, it actually happened. He said, no, because I find it hard to believe. I find it hard to believe that Jammeh will execute people. It was being meticulous. No, I don't think it's true. I said, but now, did you mind going out there and telling them according to Bankamane, so that you don't have to take a flap for this? I mean, if it comes out it's false, then it's me. You can tell them Banka told me.
I just said it.
Yeah, he said, because I'm supposed to go on an interview right now, and I don't want to go there and tell people something that will turn out to be false. I said, look, quote me. How about that? Quote me. So that when it turns out, this is a guy who hated Jammeh, was in the struggle with us, but because these crimes are so gruesome that even those who didn't like Jammeh found them hard to believe. Like Jammeh literally said days before and said, I am going to execute people.
Yes, he did, of course.
And he went ahead and did it. So these people could not...
That he was going to set an example, yeah,
exactly, that he actually did it. This is not the skepticism wasn't coming from allies of Jammeh. It was coming from people. So what I am saying is, for us, most of us, we knew these things were happening. We just had problem convincing the Gambian people that they were happening. This was our biggest problem, our biggest challenge. Because some of these stories, when Pandero wrote some of these things back in those days, people thought he was engaged in propaganda. This was how it was.
But the extent, the gravity of and the nature and way and manner in which it was done, strangling people, putting people's head in plastic bags, strangling them.
They sound like a story out of a horror movie. Yeah, and people found it hard to believe that in the Gambia too, that inside the Gambia that this will happen in our country. They just could never believe it. So you put out these stories and you spend more time trying to not look like you are a liar or engage in propaganda than really trying to push the facts or fighting to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
In your opinion, why do you think Jammeh chose this path of savagery, really, to just to protect his government, his rule? Why do you think? Who must have advised him, in your opinion, to rule this way?
I mean, power is dangerous. Power is very, very, very dangerous. And that's why all the safeguards have to be in place to restrain leaders. Because when you are in this position, one thing that you get is power, serious power. I mean, you're talking about a position where you don't even have to say, go do this for me. All you got to do is kind of rant about it and give somebody a wink wink and it happens. Just like that. This is why democracies, advanced democracies, they have put in all the safeguards, built all the institutions, because they don't trust each other with power. None of them trust each other with power. They make sure that they build institutions to restrain leaders that are going to be in the position of power. Because when somebody secures so much power, like Jammeh did, it's disaster waiting to happen. So I don't care how kind or good a person. I think Jammeh was sick. Don't get me wrong. I do believe that. I believe he's sick. But I also do believe Donald Trump is also sick.
Mentally?
I don't think the guy, I think mentally even Donald Trump is sick. I do believe that he has some psychological problem. I believe that if he were allowed, if he could get it his way, there would have been a lot more disaster in America than he was able to do.
But clearly the system didn't allow it.
He would take stuff to court, they would kick, or he would even sign executive orders, the courts will throw it out. Yes. He will do this. So they frustrated his efforts. The institutions worked strongly against him. The army, the security forces, the military, even those he tried, the National Guard, he tried to use them. But even there, he was always restrained. So those restraints are what contained him. Because power is dangerous. It can make people start to have, even the good guys can really start to do crazy stuff, let alone a crazy guy. So in the end, this was all about Gambians allowing so much power to be concentrated in Jammeh's hands. And even when he started to consolidate that power, Gambians did not see it as an assault on the collective, they saw it as an assault on the other. And when it comes to country, there is no other, there is us. So we need to get away from this mindset that, hey, the moment you start to say you are basically excluding yourself completely from that situation and you're making it about them. And when they get done with them, they will come to you because you are interlinked. When you share this space, your fate, whether you chose it or not, it's literally you're hooked to the hip. You don't have a choice anymore. Because we don't choose our countries, we don't choose our relatives. We don't. Do we wish we could? I'm sure some may not want to be born in the Gambia. But what I'm saying is, in the end, when fate decides these things, you embrace it. Don't run away from it. The moment you keep saying it's them. That's what Jammeh did. When he started going after the journalist, it is the journalist. Oh, kanin journalist on levenyola. Nanin journalist on mantanyola. Nanin Gambian ko levenyola. Contain him there. Because he started with the journalist.
Yes, of course. The 1%. He used to call us
and
the less than 1%.
Exactly. Yes. But because he wanted to contain information. He was really ready to do all the bad things. And he said, look, if we really want to do, if a thief really wants to break into a home, what does he need to do first if there is an alarm system in the home?
You have to
break the alarm system.
You have to
you better get your hammer and go slam the alarm system first, get it to quiet, everything to be quiet, and the sensor lights, turn all of them off, create darkness, then you make your move. That alarm system and the sensor lights, Jammeh went in and destroyed all of them, and people were saying, oh, it's just the alarm system he's destroying, it's just the sensor. They are the problem. These sensors too, they make a lot of, every time you walk in, they will come on, the light will come on, and even these alarms, they are, the alarm, the noise is too much. They need to quiet down. It's good, Jammeh is shutting down the atmosphere.
No wonder we were made enemy number one.
Exactly. So when that alarm system went off, yes, the sensor lights went off, darkness set in, and Jammeh said, aha, now I'll become the boogeyman. Now we have, already during that time, when he was turning those lights off, turning off the alarm system you had people who were going into the bush. Jambakata fenko fara nyininka. Toka na Kankourang city. But ba city kan Kankourang ta bunda rab lampol be fara taring. Sensol be fara be.
Yes.
Alamol be tega.
Be tega.
Ha. Puti be fara city kan. Fara city la perda wado minna. Fara city fa perda fa duma blokon. Ako wom.
Yes.
Everything was dark. And disaster ensued. I mean, this is what we need to be afraid of.
With all the efforts that are underway now, do you ever think that Jammeh would one day be brought to justice?
Yes, I believe that. I do believe one day he will be brought to justice. How, when, where? That's an open
matter
question.
of debate.
Yes.
Also, one thing, maybe that would be our final piece of discussion, has to do with, well, I mean, this was one of the efforts really that formed part of the struggle to end Jammeh's rule back in December 30th, 2015. A group of Gambians, of course, you were part of it, tried to dislodge his government. Well, although it misfired, some got killed, and then it was really an unfortunate incident, really. Looking back, as someone who knew this and was one of those people that planned this, do you think it could have been done better? Because at the end of the day, what happened, it turned out to be, in fact, it is not the bullet, but rather the ballot that will really sack Jammeh, not really to use force on him. Looking back in retrospect, do you think it could have been done differently?
Look, hindsight is always 20/20. You know, everything that you do, everything that happens, especially, and John F. Kennedy was one who said, success has 1,000 parents and failure is an orphan. Interestingly, what tends to happen with these things is when they go wrong, is when you realize things, how wrong things could have gone, not at the front end. So obviously, looking back, it's very easy to look at it now, and pundits go through the details, and now the experts can break really it down and say what could. But doing so would be a Monday morning quarterbacking, I think. In the end, what I think where the emphasis should be and where we need to focus on is the bravery and the patriotism that was exhibited on that day. It was on full display. Because when you talk about Gambian citizens, these are not foreigners. These are born citizens of this country. Decide to end the abuse of their people, the rape of their women, the killing of their parents and friends and family members. That is a very, very, very noble cause. A very, 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 that's of the highest order. So in the end, this was what, at the end of the day, it was all about. As to whether it was right or wrong, people are trying to have a big debate about that, but this is not even a matter of debate. I think ECOMIC did put that debate to an end when ECOMIC came in with guns and decided to get rid of Jammeh. So it looked like this whole idea was a more of a visionary idea from the get-go. Because what I would say what we saw back in 2014 was what ECOWAS came to see in 2016. Yes. So in other words, 4 years later, somebody looked at this and 2 years later, somebody looked at it and said, I think maybe this military option is the right choice. Yes. And they went forward. Because they know that without the military force, there was no way Jammeh would have been gone. He would still have been president of this country. So in the end...
So this is a mixture of ballot and military and force.
The ballot was just a part of a process.
Yes.
The ballot did it, the guns came in and
put everything to bed.
Exactly. That's what happened. So that literally vindicated 2014. It did. Because if you want to tell me, it wasn't right to pick up arms against Jammeh, so ECOMIC also it wasn't right for them to pick up arms against Jammeh, we can't have this both ways now.
No, clearly we cannot.
Exactly. Picking a gun against the government is picking a gun against the government.
However it's done, it's picking a gun.
It's just the personalities that are different, but it's the same method.
Yeah. So, but one thing, the attack, the December 30th attack, 3 people or died, and well, at least at that time, or even to today, those that were in government, Jammeh and his people, they called it a terrorist attack. A terrorist attack, that is all throughout, that is how they've described it. And to today, one of those that participated in the attack and survived, Papa Fall, now wants to run for president next year. Wherever he speaks, some of these people call him a terrorist. Look at a terrorist trying to rule our country.
Well, let me tell you something.
How do you go about offsetting that, shrugging that off?
Mandela was a terrorist. George Washington was a terrorist.
Yes.
America Cabral was a terrorist. I mean, we can go through the list now. If people want, we can go through this list and call everybody a terrorist at the end of the day, because these people literally pick up arms against
the system.
That's what they did. Mandela literally was the head of the arm wing of the ANC. This guy was he was not joking. He was deadly serious about changing the status quo. So what I am trying to say is this, that those who are not familiar with liberation struggles are the ones who will call a Papa Fall a terrorist and he shouldn't run. If they were fully aware, I mean, if they just had done a little bit of research or reading, they would have realized that the people that they revere so much, that they are calling their heroes, if only they know how those people, how they liberated their countries or how they became leaders, they'll be shocked. And by the way, Jammeh himself, came to power through what? Military means. What I'm saying is, in the end, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, as they say. So I'm sure the oppressors, the South African white oppressors of the black people would, in fact, they call Nelson Mandela a terrorist.
Of course.
They sent him to prison. So he was their terrorist, but is he our terrorist? No. So it's okay. Jammeh supporters can call Papa Fall a terrorist because of what they stood for. They stood for oppressing the very people that Papa Fall was trying to liberate. Yes, he's a terrorist. And by the way, not just only Papa Fall. Anybody who was in that struggle was a terrorist, was a bad citizen. That's fine. I think that's a medal that Papa can wear with pride and stand tall, knowing that history is rock solidly on his side. When Gambia's story is told in 1,000 years, when books are read and lessons are
rolled out,
what column are they going to put Papa Fall and what column are they going to put their guy, Yaya Jammeh? That's still an open question because history does have a funny way of telling its story. But I believe at this point, if this rate continues, Papa is rock solidly on the side of the good books. Let me put it that way.
And now, tomorrow will mark the 5th or the 6th anniversary of the December 30th, 2014 attack. Those that died, because you have Lamin Sane, he's a Gambian who really, like you said, wanted to end Jammeh's role, mobilize all these people, a beautiful plan to topple, and it failed. And unfortunately or tragically, he died alongside 2 others. How do you, in your opinion, how do you think these people should be remembered as we go about?
The way they should be remembered is the legacy that they left. That is the ideals for which they fought and died. Because these folks had dreams and aspirations for this country. They want to see a free Gambia. They want to see a prosperous Gambia. They want to see a Gambia devoid of all the human rights abuses that we have seen in the Jammeh days. They want to see a Gambia that will be at peace with itself, a Gambia that will finally become a beacon of hope for everybody, and even the rest of the world. That aspiration is what got them to act. These are idealists. They believed, they were just so full of idealism. I happen to have the privilege and the honor of Jaga being my friend. I happen to have the privilege and the honor of having known Lamin Sane, and for the time that we have dealt together with each other a lot. I was introduced to Lamin by his wife. And I like Jaja Nyas, the little that I know of him. I didn't know him like I knew Jaga and Lamin. But what I've come to know of him let me tell you something. These guys were full of idealism. They had high hopes and aspirations for this country. So that, as long as we keep that legacy alive, make sure that we drift this country, no matter what direction we go, that we are always tilted towards that direction of hope, of progress, of a country that is free, a country that is, despite our shortcomings, always striving to do good, to do better, to get to that promised land, then I think they will be in their graves smiling and dancing possibly with excitement, because that's what they fought for, nothing else, nothing else. You know, it's very, it's interesting or sad that sometimes when enemies, like you said, Jammeh guys, or whatever, want to kind of water the whole effort down and make it sound like, oh, these are just coup paste and da 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 da. For these people, the word coup was never mentioned by any of these guys. It was not even in their vocabulary, the word coup. Because for them, they were not staging a coup.
It was some liberation mission.
Liberation is what they were staging. Literally. And those are the words. Liberation. Not coup. Liberation. So for them, this wasn't about, oh, we are going there to say a coup and then have our own government and then, you know, we do that. No. At the end of the day, this was about our people are getting killed, they are getting slaughtered, they are getting raped, they are getting destroyed, they are getting abused. We need to bring an end to it. That's what it was supposed to happen. Now, that dream and aspiration right there, as long as we make sure that we keep the country on that track, then obviously we would have done Jaga Lamin Sane and Jaja Nyas's memory a great deal of respect.
And now, I know that there's been a number of events that have been lined to honor their memory tomorrow. Do you know anything about this?
Yes. Tomorrow we're going to have an event tomorrow at, well, let me take it back. We have a series of events. Tomorrow we're going to have a panel discussion, which is going to also be on FAT Network, and all the networks will share it too, and on For the People, by the People page. That's going to be a panel discussion about, you know, these folks and, you know, and the events itself and stuff like that. So we'll have different people on that sharing stage. And also there will be a press release tomorrow that's going to come out. And there will be a Quranic recitation at the Kanifi Mosque on Friday morning. At the mosque, Imam Babali's mosque. Yes. The Quranic recitation there. And also a graveyard visit after that later on. So that's for Friday. On Thursday, the documentary will also come out. That's going to be aired on all the networks and at the time of their choosing, obviously. Yes. So, but tomorrow, December 30th itself, will be this panel discussion at 5 o'clock. And another program which will be airing, that one will be airing on Diasporium and all these other pages. But that's at 8 o'clock, Gambia time. This other one here, the panel discussion is going to be at 5 p.m. For the People, by the People, and the other networks, FAT Network and all the others.
Sabanka, before we go, you just mentioned For the People, by the People. I have to ask you that. I mean, that is one, platform that is increasingly becoming more and more popular. You are one of the hosts. I mean, this very rich hosts of Banka. You have Musa Jeng, my energetic a friend, and then you have Coach. How did you? I mean, they come up with this idea of setting up this platform?
No, actually, For the People, by the People has been on for about 5 years now. Yes. I started the For the People, by the People program on FAT Network. Yes. And it used to be a Wednesday program. Yes. And it was, you know, it was still popular. People, you know, started to, because the discussion was meant to be something different. It was supposed to elevate the conversation, not the yelling and the name calling and the insults and that, you know, that was so pervasive all over the networks. So this was meant to be a more relaxed, very thoughtful conversation about the country we wanted. That was the whole idea. But at that time, the struggle was in full steam. It was meant for people really discussing the serious issues. What kind of country do we want? And how do we get there? What do we do? And so that whole conversation, because you have a lot of people who started to really, really like that, because for them, there was no noise, no yelling, no insults, no nothing. It was just a relaxed conversation about the issues. And it just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew and grew. Now, when I went to prison after December 30th, Coach and Musa took it over to host the show,
yes,
so that they can keep it on.
Yes.
Yeah, so that it doesn't just
it doesn't
fade
die.
away.
Yes.
So they were at it. So even during the election, it was the go-to place apparently.
Yes.
So after the whole change, and I came out, then all three of us now are on there on the platform. But because the reason why I think it works so well for us is because we are not, people may not realize, well, maybe by now I'm sure they do. We are very good friends. We are very close. Even offline, we are always debating, we're fighting over issues and all these things. I mean, because we are very, very, very close. We are a very close-knit group.
Yes.
And during the struggle, we were in the same organizations, running the same things. Issues. So we are all, if Musa talks about an incident or an event, I know exactly what event he's talking about.
Of course, because
I was there. Coach knows exactly which event because he has the facts.
He has the facts.
So we tend to be like that. We complement each other. And because we are three different personalities too.
Yes.
Totally different personalities. In our philosophy,
yes,
if you look at us, I am more very, how would you call it? I'm more of a very liberal kind of guy.
Yes, yes.
Musa tends to like to likes to present himself as a conservative.
As a conservative. Okay.
Yes. And Coach is the libertarian. He's that socialist kind of guy.
Yes, yes.
So we tend to really. So if you ask us a question about this one issue, you made here three different answers.
Answers of
and
opinions.
We may be coming from three different points of view depending on our philosophy.
Yes.
Even on Mr. Williams the other day, you could see that we were debating about whether emphasis should be on institutions or the personality.
Or the personality.
So even offline, we had that debate all the time. So we spent a lot of time on the phone with each other. We spent, when I'm in US, yes, Atlanta, Musa and I literally, we are business partners, yes, we are friends. Yes. We spend a lot of time literally, physically together. So we are going at it. If you say something, I don't agree with it, I'll flat out tell him, look, that's nonsense, and yes, we go at it. Coach, the same thing.
Coach, is he too in Atlanta?
No, he lives in DC. But because we've all been so close over the years.
Yes.
We are a very close-knit group. Our organization was called Save the Gambia Democracy Project.
Yes.
So nowadays, that was set up and all this, Save the Gambia was very prominent in those processes. Yes. It was an idea that came from Dr. Ablai Sen. So, but anyway, we've been very, very, very close over the years, grew very, very close over the years. So we tend to kind of go at it all the time on political issues and I think people, one of the reasons why the show also grew, people love it so much is because there's a certain chemistry that they see among us. That nothing is off limits. We can go at it. We can discuss the issues and
you guys has also proven to be very good journalists. You ask some very good questions. Your very last show, with the one you had, Dabo, was it you? You asked a very important question, very good question about the issue of consistency.
Yeah.
Where you have Barrow sacking people that he thinks they are not, and then you have UDP. If you go to UDP, that is exactly what happens. Right. They've also fired, and really Dabo struggled. I know you will come after me, but Dabo struggled with that question.
No, but because that's one of the reasons why a lot of these other politicians run away. I have to give Dabo credit.
Yes.
He doesn't run away from us. Even though every time he comes, we do pin him down like that.
Yes, you try to pin him down.
Yes, I give him credit because with us, when you come, we're not there to cuddle you or to kind of give you softball questions or play the game. No. Because look, I don't hate Barrow. I love Barrow as a brother. Adama Barrow, President Barrow. I love him as a brother. He's my brother. But politically on the issues, I totally disagree with him. And I should be able to look him in the eye and say, Barrow, I don't agree with what you're saying. And even pin him down on it.
Yes.
Honorable Dabo, I love him dearly. I have immense respect for him. Love him to death. But that doesn't mean if he comes to our platform, we are going to play cuddle and that. This is not about us on our relationship. It's about our country.
This is about country.
So,
and one very important question that was also raised has to do with the fact of Dabo attacking Barrow for allocating himself 150,000. I think that was coach who asked that.
Yes.
And then when Amadou Sane was finance minister, that was the same exact money that they allocated President Barrow that time. And now you have a conference, UDP conference, Dabo is saying that is callousness. So really, those are really good questions there.
Because we've been in the game for a long time, and we know these people. Dabo knows we know him very well. He knows it because we have worked with these folks together. So we are all friends. Outside of those things, we are all really good friends. When it comes to political issues, we have our disagreements, and we're not afraid to express it. Because in the end, for me, the way I see it is, if I can love Lamin and we can be friends. If I see in a problem, I can step in and do what I have to do to get you out of it. But that doesn't mean if I disagree with you, I cannot sit there and say, Lamin, look, I don't agree with that. That's wrong. I should be able to do that, Lamin. In our political process, unfortunately, that's what seems to be lacking, that maturity about the issues. The moment you counter somebody's point of view or even question their position on an issue, they equate that with being an enemy, or you don't like them, or you want them to fail, or that you are trying to start trouble. No, you should encourage that, because it's only going to enrich the process, really, I think, and the parties themselves. Yeah.
Sabanga, I'm afraid we've run out of time, and that was a marathon, but thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay in Gambia. When are you leaving?
I'm here. I've come back.
You've moved back?
Yes.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh, I didn't know.
I'm not a returnee. I'm one of you. So nobody's going to call me a diaspora. Now
you've returned. I hope someday we'll get your colleagues also moving back.
Yeah, they will.
Coach and yes. Thank you very much for coming once again. We have a story as businessman Abubakari Jawara gave the women of Sanyang $100,000 recently. This was a story that was supposed to air a few days ago. It could not. Father Kamara tells us more about that.
Businessman Abubakari Jawara on Tuesday traveled back to Sanyang to deliver on a 100,000 pledge to the women of the village. The businessman had earlier this month pledged to give 100,000 to the women as part of his corporate social responsibility to Sanyang.
The Gambia tinyala because mbota janel ko kuninga soto laftale ni Gambiano ya enjoy surtout musol so dem malafi nga musol kumbondi because ni minor mo jama ka kuma jama fo bari ima happy lela ya mirale lafta menje lay moje so ika fanal fo ni man ka keten la ka keten kabini 1926 ni minor beja kuma itamo ila na manke science kabrini changes kera government corona da del be nata go ngata sayi ngata na banko doko de investment menke ja Gambia jang mafo ko mimbe bulofla bari sponsor for no Gambia no yalo because mo jama kan na company tomoy ken na fangula tomoy ya merante mu moment de manko mot laptare Gambiano be yalo de manke moti komika Gambia tinya laptale Gambia tanyato harni simo kon nyawnya bari abe dogo menkan harni ma fangu kanu ala doko yo kanu odam muslimayat so komi VDC la secretary general ya fo nyame projet jama ngembulo dunije harna tra kinyo fingo tente buluja sanya ngor sulatanda nsina dankuma ko nga kedula jama manke sanya jama ndo folano molu yalo be fi natra mem fola to nyalo foto nyalo so olati na be kontane ne bake ni 1000 bake of cement ni mu starting let membe ko mala yodo musol gadinu be membul jang laftale nale ben kankilin ni ko keda alkana mo kun la moy ngalo albe betatal mol le bije dron ka kol musol la kar because momo ay bala fa so musoy ni ko media to musol gadino dron ngol be kan fala e ka tel yo use amantara tel ma amanka tel de wolon bare nte fana mbal promise la bi nal be mem cleanati albe ko kon kono fana be wole kon be wa vidisila chama nabe nyon kalama de bak be $100,000 ayadi musol $100,000.
On Tuesday, December 22nd, the businessman went back to Sanyang to hand over the money.
Naklo baka amira last month, nataja pruka 1,000 bag of cement handover. So natowa close to musolo embendi nyame and then musolo be hard working men for kranya onya for na compagnie mirosro e bulo lafaji pro musolbe bamana nyame olatina promise men kita $100,000 nata ole handover badi na sister ani bamal ni so ani BDC mall mbeke seroti na kodo handover musole ole mu na kongi jang so mbal tentula mbal jela.
The women are grateful.
Tole bifo kontano bedo wala BDC kar BDC wala mun tole nyati ngin sateto uni yakuwa kuna ben tole budo nga fo ron ikawulelo iselonya fola ba lodo laji fo mbuka fen fono kande bera yanko bada jako mito ngala yakon nata kankula musol nata dan kunna ja anata na kumota chika ari Abubakar Jawara e mbambu biya e mbambu som be ko gelen fole bi biyo kay sambe tembo mito ngemu dara ka bobila ko jani forever.
Jawara's company, Gaj, has in the past 2 years been the company authorized by the government to mine sand in Sanyang, but there has been a lot of talks about the activities in the village. But Jawara is welcomed in Sanyang.
For the people of Sanyang, we would say we are much happy about Abubakar, and that Abubakar is part of Sanyang. And whatever Sanyang is in for, when we knock the doors of Abubakar, is ready to do that service for the community of Sanyang. That being the case, Abubakar is not a layman in his community, he's part and parcel of us. And the people of Sanyang, they know it. You can see from the women and from our previous gathering, you will know that Abubakar is part of this community, and this community have much appreciation for Abubakar.
Yusufa Jase is the secretary of the Village Development Committee of Sanyang and has this message for the women and the people of Sanyang and the entire nation.
As a good citizen, don't think what people will do for you, but what you can do for your country. Because when last time I gave a speech regarding what Abubakar did for the community of Sanyang, but some citizens, I feel like let me encourage Abubakar to continue whatever is good, doing good, because whatever he does, somebody is there to castigate you, But I'm still informing my colleague out there that I personally, yes, I'm too young, but I know I don't have millions of dollars, but my effort, my knowledge, I will put that in the interest of Sanyang. So likewise, Abubakar, imagine Abubakar is spending a lot of thousands in this community. He's never a citizen of Sanyang, but today he loves Sanyang and he's having the interest of Sanyang at heart. So I will encourage him to keep up the momentum and then move forward. That's the wall. People will castigate you, but no matter what, do whatever you want to do.
The people of Sanyang say for the first time in nearly 10 years since mining started in Sanyang that the people of the village are benefiting from it. Jawara's 100,000 donation comes quickly on the heels of him donating 1,000 bags of cement to Sanyang jet towards the construction of the village car park. Fatu Kamara reporting for the Fatu Network News Review.
Very well, that takes us to the end of today's show. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, my name is Lamin Jai.